Sounds like some of you heard this before. I know I have. That's because this song is called Alice's Restaurant. But Alice's Restaurant was never the name of the restaurant. That was always just the name of the song. I guess that's why I still call the song Alice's Restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Walk right in, it's around the back, just a half a mile from the railroad track. And you can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Well, it all started about 50 years ago. 50 Thanksgivings ago, 50 years ago on Thanksgiving, when my friend and I decided to go up and visit Alice at the restaurant. But Alice didn't used to live in the restaurant. She used to live in the church nearby the restaurant, in the bell tower, with her husband Ray and Foncha the dog. And living in the bell tower like that, they used to have a lot of room downstairs where the pews used to be. And seeing as how they took out all of the pews and having all that room, they decided that they didn't have to take out their garbage for a long time. We got up there, found the place was filled with garbage, and we decided it'd be a friendly gesture for us to take the garbage down to the town dump. So we took the half a ton of garbage, put it in the back of a red VW microbus, took shovels and rakes and implements of destruction and headed on toward the town dump. We got there. There was a sign, a chain across the road saying, "Closed on Thanksgiving." We had never heard of a dump being closed on Thanksgiving before. So with tears in our eyes, we drove off into the sunset looking for another place to put the garbage. We didn't find one till we come to a side road. And off of the side road there was a 15-foot cliff, and at the bottom of the cliff there was another pile of garbage. And we decided that one big pile would be better than two little ones, and rather than bring that one up, we decided to throw ours down. And that's what we did. Drove back to the church, had a Thanksgiving dinner that couldn't be beat, went to sleep and didn't get up until the next morning when we got a phone call from Officer Obi. He said, "Kid, we found your name on an envelope at the bottom of a half a ton of garbage. Just wanted to know if you had any information about it." I said, "Yes, sir, Officer Obi. I cannot tell a lie. I put that envelope under that garbage." It was after talking to Obi for about 45 minutes over the telephone that we finally arrived at the truth of the matter. And Obi said we had to go down and pick up the garbage. We also had to go down and talk to him at the police officer station. Now, friends, there was only one of two things that Obi could have done at the police officer station, and the first thing was he could have given us a medal for being so brave and honest over the telephone, which wasn't very likely, and we didn't expect it. And of course, the other possibility was, well, he could have bawled us out and told us never to be seen driving garbage around the vicinity again, which is what we expected. But when we got to the police officer station, there was a third possibility we hadn't counted upon, and we was both immediately arrested, handcuffed. And I said, "Obi, I don't think I can pick up the garbage with these handcuffs on." He said, "Shut up, kid. Get in the back of the patrol car." We sat in the back of the patrol car and drove to the, quote, "scene of the crime," unquote. Now, friends, I want to tell you about the town of Stockbridge, Massachusetts, where this was happening. They got 3 stop signs, 2 police officers, and 1 police car. But when we got to the scene of the crime, there was 5 police officers and 3 police cars, being the biggest crime of the last 50 years, and everybody wanted to get in the newspaper story about it. And they was using up all kinds of cop equipment they had hanging around the police officer station. They was taking plaster tire tracks, footprints, dog smelling prints, and they took 27 8x10 colored glossy pictures with circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one explaining what each one was to be used as evidence against us. They took pictures of the approach, the getaway, the northwest corner, the southwest corner, and that's not to mention the aerial photography. And it was after the ordeal we went back to the jail, and Obie said he was going to put us in the cell. He said, "Kid, I'm going to put you in the cell. Give me your wallet and your belt." And I said, "Obie, I can understand you want my wallet, so I don't have any money to spend in the cell. But what do you want my belt for?" He said, "Kid, we don't want any hangings." And I said, "Obie, did you think I was going to hang myself for littering?" Obie said he was making sure, and friends, Obie was, because he took out the toilet seat so I couldn't hit myself over the head and drown. Took out the toilet paper so I couldn't bend the bars, roll the toilet paper out the window, slide down the roll, have an escape and get away. Obie was making sure, all right. And it was about 4 or 5 hours later that Alice, remember Alice? It's still the song about Alice, and she come by, and with a few nasty words to Obie on the side, she bailed us out of jail, and we went back to the church, had another Thanksgiving dinner that couldn't be beat, went to sleep and didn't get up until the next morning, when we all had to go to court. We walked in, sat down. Obie come in with the 27 8x10 colored glossy pictures with the circles and arrows and paragraph on the back of each one, explaining what each one was to be used as evidence against us. And he sat down. A man come in. He said, "All rise!" And we stood up. And Obie stood up with the 27 8x10 colored glossy pictures, and the judge walked in and sat down with a CNI dog. He sat down, we sat down. Obie looked at the CNI dog, and then at the 27 8x10 colored glossy pictures, and looked at the CNI dog. And Obie began to cry, because Obie came to the realization that this was a typical case of American blind justice. And there was no way the judge was going to look at the 27 8x10 colored, didn't matter. Because we was fined $25 each, and we had to pick up the garbage in the snow. But of course, that's not what I came to talk about so much. Just thought I'd mention it. Tonight I thought I'd talk a little bit about the draft, and for those that wasn't there, or don't know, or can't remember, back in those days we used to have a thing called the selective service system, which meant that when you was a guy and you turned 18, you had to register with the selective service so that you could select some kind of service that might be of interest to you. If your choice was none of the above, they would help you by making a selection for you. And to do that, they had buildings all across America where you had to go in, get injected, inspected, detected, infected, neglected, and selected. And I remember I had to go in there one morning a long time ago for my physical examination. It's on Whitehall Street, New York City, and I remember I got good and drunk the night before, because I wanted to feel my best when I went in that morning. I mean, I wanted to look, I wanted to be like the all-American kid. When I went in that morning, I was looking things, and I walked in, I sat down. They gave me a piece of paper, said, "Kid, see the psychiatrist, room 604. I went in there. I said, "Shrink, I want to kill. I want to see blood, gore, and guts, and veins in my teeth, dead, burnt bodies. I mean, kill. And I started jumping up and down, yelling, kill. And he started jumping up and down with me. We was both jumping up and down, yelling, kill. medal on me, sent me down the hall saying, "You're our boy." I didn't feel real good about it, but I proceeded on down the hall, get more injections, inspections, and all kinds of stuff that they was doing to me at the thing there, and I was there for 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. I was there for a long time, going through all kinds of mean, nasty, ugly things. They was inspecting and checking every single part of me, and they was leaving no parts untouched. But I proceeded through until I finally come to see the very last man. I walked up, I said, "What do you want to see me about?" He said, "Kid, we only have one more question. Have you ever been arrested?" I told him the story of the Alice's Restaurant massacre with 5-part harmony, full orchestration, all kinds of other phenomena. He stopped me there. He said, "Kid, did you go to court?" And I told him the story of the 27 8x10 colored glossy pictures with the circles and arrows. And he stopped me again. He said, "Kid, I want you to go over and sit down on that bench. It says Group W." "Now, kid." Went over there. Group W. Group W is where they used to put you if you might not have been moral enough to join the army after committing your special crime. There was all kinds of mean, nasty, ugly-looking people sitting there on the bench next to me. I mean, there was mother rapers, father stabbers, father rapers sitting there on the bench next to me. They were mean, nasty, ugly, horrible crime kind of guys, and the meanest, ugliest, nastiest one, the meanest father raper of them all, was coming over to me, and he sat down next to me and said, "Kid, what'd you get?" I said, "I didn't get nothing. I had to pay $25 and pick up the garbage." He said, "Kid, what was you arrested for?" I said, "Littering." And they all moved away from me on the bench there, giving me the hairy eyeball and all kinds of stuff, till I said, "And creating a nuisance." Then they all come back and shook my hand, and we had a great time on the bench talking about crime, mother stabbing, father raping. We was smoking cigarettes and all kinds of stuff, having a good time. Till the sergeant come over. He had some paper in his hand. He held it up. He went like this. He said, "Kid, this paper got 47 words on every sentence. For no time to crime, details of crime, you gotta say the truth about the crime, the rest of officer's name, kind of think I'm the same." He talked for 45 minutes, and nobody understood a word he said. But we had fun, filling out the forms and playing with the pencils on the bench. And I wrote down the massacre like I was supposed to, and I put down my pencil, turned over the piece of paper. And there on the other side of that piece of paper, in the middle of the other side, I mean away from everything else on the other side, underlined, capitalized, quotated, read the following words: "Kid, have you rehabilitated yourself?" I went over to the sergeant. I said, "Sergeant, you got a lot of gall to ask me if I've rehabilitated myself. I mean, I'm sitting here on the bench. I'm sitting here on the Group W bench because you want to know if I'm moral enough to join the army, burn women, kids, houses, children, villages after being a litter bug." He said, "Kid, we don't like your kind. We're going to send your fingerprints off to Washington." And friends, somewhere in Washington, enshrined in a little folder is a study in black and white of my fingerprints. They're still there. They've been there 50 freaking years. But I'm not the only one. They've been adding to the collection recently. So the only reason I'm sending you this all tonight is because you may know somebody in a similar collection. Even some of you could be in a collection like that. And if you ever find yourself in a collection like that, you don't know what to do, there may be only one. Well, there may not actually be much anyone can do, but there's something you can try. And that's to be wherever it is you are, as it were. To stop whatever you're doing. Just take a moment and go something like this. You just say, You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. That's it. Just a couple of bars of the old song. You can imagine somebody trying that these days. Probably not worth collecting. But imagine two of them. Maybe two of them trying to get married in parts of Kentucky or something. Or maybe three out in Idaho or Utah. I don't know. Or maybe 50,000 people stop whatever they're doing, sing a few bars of the old song. Be worth collecting then. Not only that, you get a song worth singing, my God, even the people collecting might start joining in. And when you get a song worth joining in on, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, or who you are, or what your story is, it becomes what we used to call a movement. Now, one of these days, somebody's going to write a song like that. It's not this one. Every generation needs their own songs. But while we're waiting for that one to get wrote, we can practice on the one we got. Not all that hard. Some of you even know it. Just goes like this. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. Walk right in, it's around the back, just half a mile from the railroad track. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. No, that seriously sucked. Spokane is up. You know, if you want to sing, if you want to be worth collecting, you got to learn to sing loud. So I'll wait for it to come around again on the guitar. I'm still not proud or tired. Just don't want to sing it for another 50 freaking years. You can't get anything at Alice's restaurant. You can't get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. Walk right in, it's around the back, just half a mile from the railroad track. You can't get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. At Alice's restaurant. Too late now. Oh man. You know, I remember I started writing that in the fall of 1965. That was a while back. And I finished it the following year in 1966. It just took that long for these events to actually unfold. And it came out as a record in 1967. And in 1968, I got a phone call from a well-known movie director, a guy named Arthur Penn, who back in those days had just finished a film called Bonnie and Clyde. And he called me up on the phone. He said, "Arlo, I just heard your record. I think most people believe you're making this up, but I live in Stockbridge. I know these people. I have got to make a film of this." So in 1968, we started working on the film, and it came out the following year in 1969. Interestingly, I know we're playing some clips from it behind me. I can't see them. I know they're there. And you should note that the cop in the clips is not an actor. That's Officer Obie. He called me up and said, "If anybody's going to make a fool of me, might as well be me." The judge in the movie and in the clips, that's not an actor. That is the real judge. That's Judge Hannon playing himself. And that was the genius of Arthur Penn, was that he got us all to recreate these events that had actually happened a few years before for the film that he was making. Interestingly enough, the first scenes we started filming, which were not in sequence to the story or the film or anything, was me and Officer Obie. And we had not worked or talked or communicated in any way since that day in court a few years earlier. So you could say we weren't on the best of terms. We had nothing in common. We was totally opposites in every imaginable way, polar opposites in anything. I mean, we were more divided than the country is today. I mean, we had nothing to say to each other, so we just never said anything. We just read from the script every day. until about 2 weeks in. And he came up to me one morning and he said, "Guthrie, if you hippies can get up 4 or 5 in the morning, go through this wardrobe and makeup crap, work all day and the night, well, it can't be all that bad." So we became friends and stayed friends until he passed away some years ago now. So if you ever get a chance to see this film, either for the first time or another time, whatever, take a look at what you're actually seeing, which is not part of the story, but it's right there in front of you. It's a couple of guys, opposites in every imaginable possible way, just working together for a couple of weeks, became lifelong buddies. The world needs a little more of that. It's not all that hard to do. Mention one more thing. You know, when this came out as a record back in 1967, we were actually making records before CDs or cassettes or whatever we've had in between. And to make those records, they had these stamps. You know, they just stamped the stuff together. And to make sure that those stamps were good, they would make test pressings. And those, if you listen to the test pressing a few times, and if everybody said, yeah, that's what it's supposed to sound like, then they would use those stamps to go on and make the rest of the records. And those test pressings were the last songs my father ever heard. He passed away just a couple of weeks after that, before the record even came out. And that, of course, is the family joke, you know. Woody Guthrie heard Alice's Restaurant, then died. We like that kind of humor in our family. But I also remember hearing the stories about the first songs he'd ever heard, which was the ones that his mother, my grandmother, would sing. When my dad was a little kid in Oklahoma growing up, boy, they didn't have records or radios or nothing. They were just getting light bulbs. That was the big thing. And so to put the kids to sleep at night, my grandmother would sit around singing the old ballads, you know, from Scotland, where the family was from. And I'm sure my dad heard them all. I know he did because, well, he stole all the tunes later on in life. Just put his own words to them. And decades later, he wrote down some thoughts about that. It wasn't really a song, or if it was, we don't know how it went because he couldn't write music. So it just stayed a couple of lyrics on page until a few years back when my old friend Janice Ian got a hold of the lyrics and put a little tune to it. And I thought what she did with it was just so pretty. It goes something like this. If I could only hear my mother sing again, if I could hear you now as easily as then, all the friends and family would sing along with me, set your spirit free. In my heart, I hear you sing again. Every note is natural as then. And when I sing those songs to family and friends, in my heart, I hear you sing again. I know the troubled times that turned your hair to gray, and all the tears and sorrows followed to your grave. But deep within the heart of hunger, there were always melodies passed from you to me. In my heart, I hear you sing again. Every note is natural as then. And when I sing those songs to family and friends, in my heart I hear you sing again. And it's a long, long road I've come since my mother's voice was heard. But the child I can't outrun still hangs on every word. In my heart I hear you sing again. Every note is natural as then. And when I sing those songs, to family and friends. In my heart, I hear you sing again. In my heart, I hear your voice again.